Okay, now we have Tiffany talking to us about decadal changes in our wild Acropora palmata.
Thank you, Steph, for that introduction. So yes, as she said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Acropora monitoring project that we've done. I work with Florida Fish and Wildlife, and I've been leading this project for only about a year, so not quite a decade. But there are other great scientists in the room that we have built this monitoring program off of. As you guys are all well aware, in the 1950s and 60s, these Acropora colonies were considered to be pretty dominant in those shallow full reef environments. And then starting in the 1970s, they really started to drop off, mainly because of diseases and major storms and bleaching events. So the palmata monitoring project really begins in 2011, and this is done in 6 different regions throughout the Florida Reef Tract, with NOVA Southeastern focusing in the northern parts and NOAA doing the Upper Keys and FWC focusing in the other regions. Overall, there are 24 sites throughout the Florida Reef Tract, and this monitoring is carried out using a 7-meter radius plot with a central pin, and each palmata colony within that plot is fate tracked from survey to survey, and these surveys are carried out 3 to 4 times a year. So FWC focuses its effort on 7 sites in the Florida Keys, 2 of which are in the Biscayne National Park at Marker 3 and Ball Buoy, 2 in the Middle Keys at Sombrero and Lou, and 3 in the Lower Keys, Sand Key, Rock Key, and West Sambo. So after 10 years of monitoring, as you guys may have guessed, these corals have been on the decline. This is mainly due to bleaching events in 2014 and 15, as well as Hurricane Irma in 2017. So since 2011, we have lost 72% of the colonies that were within these plots, and we have lost 61% of live tissue, and that's what that live area index is, the LAI. And also with this, we've noticed that as we lose more colonies, the smaller colonies are disproportionately affected. So when we see more loss, we also see the colony sizes increasing with that. And with that, with all of this loss, we've also seen a local extinction of these palmata colonies at 2 sites, and those include Rock Key and Western Sambo. And Sand Key now only has 2 colonies remaining, and those 2 colonies have persisted since 2015. So this is kind of the larger picture, the decadal changes that I wanted to talk to you about. But if we zoom in a little bit closer, let's say in the past year, we can see some of the stressors that are causing the mortality on these. So primarily we see predation and we see disease. And you might have already heard that a few times today. The corallivolus snails are really a big deal for these colonies. You see them every time you go out. And we also see quite a bit of disease. And this might be temporal. It pops up from time to time. Mainly, we see rapid tissue loss disease. As far as paling and bleaching goes, this isn't something that we see as often and haven't seen since 2014 at the large scale. But more recently, at Marker 3 in Biscayne National Park, 100% of the colonies were experiencing some pretty severe paling. And just zooming back out to that larger picture of these trends within these colonies, overall, you can see things are staying pretty steady, and they can sort of bounce back on these small time scales. We haven't had a major event, except for one in 2000, and last year in September, we had a disease event at Sombrero Reef where we did see a big drop in our amount of live tissue at that site. So this is a lot of stuff I already mentioned to you. We've seen a 61% loss in the tissue since 2011, including an extinction at Rock Key and Western Sambo. And this is mainly due to acute stressors such as major bleaching events or storm events and those chronic predation stressors and disease. And sorry that my talk was kind of more doom and gloom than everyone else's, but that's why a lot of you guys are here, to turn that frown upside down. And again, like I said earlier, this was done over the past decade, and I just want to give a huge shout out to the people who worked on this in the past, such as Kate Lunds and Karen Neely, who's in the back, and Kevin McCauley, as well as Greg Ward and Ananda Ellis. Thank you.